Back to the Giants here. Injuries beginning to pile up on the offensive line. So take us through the injuries that the Giants are dealing with right now up front.
Yeah, we were talking about Greg Van Roten earlier and where he's going to fit in. The Giants would like him to play right guard for them. They would like their offensive line to include Andrew Thomas, of course, at left tackle, John Runyon at left guard, John Michael Schmitz at center, Greg Van Roten at right guard, and right tackle Jermaine Illuminor. Notice I didn't mention Evan Neal because he's still not healthy, and it seems like the Giants are content with moving on and setting up this offensive line without Evan Neal in their plans. And I'm with them on that. He can't stay healthy. He's never played well when he's been healthy. Whatever, until he proves that he could be a great player, he can't see the field. But the big problem here is John Michael Schmitz at center, still absent. So therefore, Greg Van Roten's not playing the right guard that I mentioned in that projected starting five. He's playing center. I think that causes a lot of problems for you. Because first of all, John Michael Schmitz is missing out on very valuable practice reps. Would have loved to see him out there for day one of joint practices with the Lions, going up against Aleem McNeil and a few of those other Detroit Lions defensive linemen. Instead, he's still rehabbing, off on the side, not getting himself healthy, or not getting himself prepared, rather, trying to get healthy, but not preparing for the regular season. Major cause for concern for me. Greg Van Roten now playing center, playing out of position, so not getting ready to go at right guard. I think this is having a trickle-down effect, and it is a concerning development here for the Giants that John Michael Schmitz is still out with this shoulder injury.
There we go. Yeah, that's a name that you would really like to see out there. I'm with you on the Evan Neal thing, going into now his third season, hasn't really performed, has been injured a lot, and just frankly not as good as Jermaine Illuminor. We talked about a lot on the show already that we think right tackle's the best spot for him. And Van Roten at right guard, I think it would be an upgrade over just like trying to get your best five out there. But John Michael Schmitz not being in the mix is tough. And, he looked up and down last year, and he's someone who I think could be benefiting from these reps. So you kind of want him back as soon as possible.
Yeah, I'm with you there. First State Jets says it well. Can't make the club from the tub, so you can't really improve if you're not on the field. I think that's what that translates to. And John Michael Schmitz, again, I want to bring up a point that Shane Bowen, defensive coordinator of the Giants, made about Tyler Nubin last week. He said, you can't get better if you're not practicing. He said that about Nubin when he was dealing with his calf tightness. Dane Belton, in the meantime, has pretty much stolen that starting free safety job from Tyler Nubin. And you worry on the offensive side of the ball, John Michael Schmitz also can't get better unless he's practicing. Is he going to be ready to go for week one? I mean, the expectation is that he will be. The Giants keep saying he's very close to making a return, but they've been saying that ever since he sat out that first practice with the shoulder injury. Almost feel like they're duping us, and maybe there's a little bit more to it. I can't really tell. So I don't know. I'm starting to get concerned, and I think John Michael Schmitz, considering the really poor performance that he turned in as a rookie, again, I know injuries were part of that, same shoulder, though. And so I'm starting to get concerned about this and wondering when he's going to return to the field and what it's going to look like when he does.
I'm with you on that one. What do you think of Joe the Jets' comment here saying Evan Neal will be a burger flipper next year?
I love the shot that he's taken at Neal because, of course, Evan Neal referred to all of us naysayers and doubters as burger flippers before walking back that comment and apologizing publicly, as he should. But listen, with Evan Neal, it feels like the writing is on the wall. The Giants are in no rush to get him back on the field. The Giants are content going with the other guys that they've signed. And everything that I've heard about Evan Neal privately behind the scenes is that his work ethic is not the strongest. Obviously, the Giants made a mistake. They misdiagnosed his injury. They told him he had a sprain. He really had a fracture. That set him back quite a bit. But he was supposed to be close to returning back in the spring in OTAs and minicamp, and he still has not returned. And this is something that I kind of got into an argument with someone on Twitter yesterday about. They said he's played only 20 career games. You have to give him more time to prove himself. You have to give him a chance. And I said, but that is part of the problem. He's only played 20 career games out of an eligible 34. He's missed 14 games. That's equivalent to nearly an entire regular season that he has missed due to injuries. That is part of the problem. It's not just the fact that he hasn't played well when he's on the field. I agree. He still has time to develop, turn things around, and get better with better coaching. So you can't necessarily write him off just because of the way that he's played on the field. But to me, I'm writing him off in large part because he has not been healthy and he has not been able to stay on the field. And I don't like relying on injury prone players. And Neal has already received that label from me. So I think it's part of the problem. He hasn't been healthy, and missing nearly an entire regular season through your first 2 full seasons due to injuries, you're not going to get better if you're not on the field. And everything involved with Evan Neal just tells me he's likely not going to be a member of this team in 2025.
Couldn't help but chuckle at this one. Just don't go the Becton route and blame the team doctors, coaches, trainers, grass, white paint on the lines, anything except blaming yourself. It is true. You do have to take some accountability at some point, and hopefully Evan Neal goes that route.
Yeah, I mean, he chose not to go that route last year when he blamed the fans and called us burger flippers. But, we'll see how it goes this year. If he does get on the field at any point, I mean, he has to bring his A games. Former number 7 overall pick out of freaking Alabama. Everybody thought that he was going to step in here, be a plug and play right tackle. Ends up okay. Maybe he's going to be more of a project. Ends up being okay. Maybe he's one of the worst offensive tackles in the entire NFL. So real steep fall from grace for Evan Neal. And again, if he doesn't get on the field ASAP and start to really push Jermaine Illuminor and prove that he is in store for a bounce back year, I just don't see a way in which he's going to be on this team in 2025 and forward.
You know what? I think the Giants should take the Eric Flowers approach and try him at guard, because he kind of, not that he was an amazing guard, but it felt like he resurrected his career a little bit moving inside. And I just don't think it's worked for Neal at tackle. And he's someone who, if I'm not mistaken, I think he did play some guard at Alabama.
So he played left guard his freshman season at Alabama, played it quite well, moved to right tackle when he was a sophomore, played left tackle as a junior. He's really never found a home on the offensive line and has moved around quite a bit. But one could argue, due to the flaws in his game, his weaknesses at the tackle position, his strengths align well with the guard position, so it might make sense to try him there. But this is a point of contention for me with the Giants coaching staff. They've already said when he is healthy, they plan on continuing to play him at tackle. They don't have plans to move him inside the guard. And again, I think that they have not learned their lesson with Eric Flowers. With Eric Flowers, they were adamant he is a tackle, and we're not moving him off of tackle. Eventually, he leaves the Giants, goes on to have a successful career playing guard for 2 other teams, the Dolphins and Washington. The Giants can't let the same thing happen here with Evan Neal. They can't make this mistake once again. You can't just be adamant that he's a tackle, even if he's not proving it at tackle. At some point, you got to try him out at guard and see if that is the key to saving this young player's career.
I'm with you. I think, again, it's worth a look. I'm not saying it's a guarantee that would work out, but kind of just feels like you have to try something, and you can't just keep leaving him out there and be an issue at right tackle. Jermaine Illuminor was one of my favorite offensive line free agents to hit the market this offseason, and I think him going out and playing right tackle for coach that really developed him a lot over the last couple of years is going to be a major upgrade for the Giants at the right tackle spot after what they dealt with the last couple of years there.
Totally agree with you. And I think that when you're looking at Illuminor's skill set, yes, he's a great right tackle and he can play that position quite well, but he's also a pretty good right guard. So it's just very disappointing that Evan Neal isn't even healthy. We can't even test out the offensive line configuration that features Neal at right tackle and Illuminor at guard and see how that goes, because Evan Neal is just not healthy. So I don't know when he's going to be healthy. I don't know how long it's going to take him. Obviously, he had surgery back in, I think, January, but here we are 8 months later. He's still not ready to go. I don't know if he's going to be anytime soon, but he better pray that he is, because if he's not, I think he's pretty much done for. He needs to get on the field to save his career if he really cares about, playing long-term in the NFL. So, yeah, I mean, I'd like to see him turn it around. I'd like to see Evan Neal succeed. Obviously, I've got my criticisms of him, but the same thing with Daniel Jones. He wears a Giants helmet, so I root for him, and I want him to prove me wrong. But right now, we have seen zero signs that Evan Neal is actually going to turn things around.